Okay, just double check with you. I think everyone can hear, can see me, right? Okay, can hear, can see. Okay, if everything's all right with you, then I think we can start today. First thing first, the very first thing to remind you, I think today you have to submit your case study analysis. So if you have done so by submitting your document to turn it in, then okay, done already. Then I guess all you have to do is wait a little bit while, and then you get the originality report, and then by second lesson this week, then submit it together with your reference page, and then everything will be done. Very happy, right? So one thing achieved already. If you haven't done so, don't worry. I think you still have time. Before midnight tonight, I think should be fine. As long as you let the system sees you here, and as long as you make a record like through turn it in, I think should be okay. Right. Okay, can see. Okay, thank you. Okay, if technically everything is fine, then we can proceed now. If you have the red book with you, please join me here. Okay, so couple things we have to do today. So if you remember last week, we'll work on the argument essay. So we we had readings, and then we have couple things. Okay, we look into especially thesis statement with counter argument. That's the major focus last week, and then we also spend quite a number of time looking into counter-argument and refutation, because these are something extra. Okay, a little bit additional to what you should have learned from the past. Today we'll move on to two things. Well, one thing actually. Designing questionnaire. Okay, some do's and don'ts together. But before I begin that part with you, okay, in terms of language training, there's a small little part I think based on the teaching plan, I have to finish it with you. So if you have the red book, the smaller one, please join me on page 78, as here shown on the screen. If you do not have the book, then I'm afraid you have to follow me here. Okay, what do we have to go through first as a little language training or little language, how to say, yeah, awareness. Yes, formal and informal vocabulary. You may be thinking, where do you get all these information? Okay, how do you know whether a vocabulary is formal and informal? Of course, from me, I can say usage, because the more you use them, the more you know your exposure. But of course, for learners, like many of us here, I think the dictionary itself this time would be very useful, especially the thesaurus. Okay, both would be fairly useful in our situation. Normally, when we write for academic essays, yes, we want a more formal style. Different from you talk to your friends or you blog yourself or you're writing your own personal private communication. That would be totally different. So therefore, most of the cases we try to avoid slang in academic essay, especially your argument essay. Most of the cases, how do we check the level of formality? Like I just reminded you, I think the dictionary would be very useful. Yes, on top of that, the thesaurus will also be very useful. Later on, if you want to know a little bit more, I can talk a little bit more about dictionary and thesaurus, but I'm sure like 78, yes. If you have the red one, red book 78. Yes, the red one, if you have it. Thank you. Thanks for helping me. Okay. Yeah, that's a small part concerning formal and informal vocabulary. Like the example down right here. Okay, so you have an informal one where you see right here, tons of kids spend lots of time hanging around the school. So spend lots of time hanging around the school. Yeah. So as a correspondent, so this one we consider informal because, well, you chit chat with your friends, you're writing your own personal email, of course, fine, nobody cares, go ahead. But then in terms of an essay, we'd like to tone it up, make it a little bit more formal. So tons of kids now becomes a number of children. So correspondingly, so spend lots of times becomes spend hours, and then hang around becomes loitering near. Loitering is a very formal word, and if you understand the law of Hong Kong, loitering can be an offense. Loitering means like you go to a, well, usually public area, of course, very okay, but then it still depends these days. So loitering means like you go to a place and then you do nothing. You don't have a purpose. Maybe you just go there, walk along. Sometimes we call that idling. I'm not so sure you know this word, idle. Idle means you do nothing. Idling would be the action. If you want to learn this word, learn it. So idling. Yeah. If you want proper English for the Cantonese phrase, we always use that, right? 好 hea. Okay, 你去邊度 hea? Okay, that would be the proper English word. So idling, that means you go to a place but then you do nothing. Loitering would be the same. You go to a place, walk around, and then do nothing. So simply like hanging around. Hanging around, normally you do nothing, right? You just, no purpose, maybe chit with your friends, maybe chit chat with your friends and get a drink, maybe not. Okay. Now, but then in terms of formality, you know, the second one is far much more, it contains a far much more higher level than the first one. So, and normally in your academic essay, this one will be far much more preferred than the informal one. Okay. Now, there's a small little exercise I would like you to do. Okay, so all you have to do, match 12 informal words together with their formal nouns, synonyms. Synonyms means words of similar meanings. And where could you possibly find them? Okay, for the time being, okay, this is my favorite dictionary online because it's free. If you are interested to try, you can take a look. So why I like it so much, of course, you can have dictionary, okay, and also you can have thesaurus. Normally for writer, now if you're actually writing and then you need more vocabulary, I think normally I'll prefer you to look up a thesaurus rather than a dictionary. Reason for that very easy, because if you really want to build up your vocabulary in the future, now for instance, I'm using now, as you can see from the screen, I'm using the thesaurus to check the word eat, which is supposed to be a very simple word, but then if you want more, okay, then I can bite, chew, devour, dine, feed, ingest, inhale, nibble, pick, swallow. Now, these are, of course, all different actions. Yeah, all totally different actions. But then on and on, if you're really interested to know related vocabularies to the meaning of the word eat, then this is how we pick it up, okay, when I was more like your age, okay? So back many years ago. Yeah, so a thesaurus will be very useful. Okay, it will be a dictionary for you to find out synonyms. Yes. Now, so take your time. I need all 12 of them being paired up by their so-called formal synonyms. And if you're smart enough, this pair here is formal. This column is totally informal. I think very easy, right? This one, I think let's spend maybe 5 minutes here. Okay, you finish it, then on the texting column, please type done, and then I know it, and then I'll just carry on with you. So please help me complete this particular exercise first. Match the 12 informal words with their more formal synonyms. Once again, synonyms means words of similar meanings. Yes, thank you. finish, then please let me know. Okay, good. Okay, good. Thanks. How about the rest? A couple more minutes, maybe, hopefully, to the rest of you. Okay, if some of you are done, I think, there, let's go through it. After all, it's not difficult, I think. Okay, time to kill should be C, was not busy. Very straightforward. Number 2, kid, child, E, right? Number 3, plus, in addition. Number 4, nosy. Now careful, nosy, not noisy, nosy. Nosy, that means you are always want to know other people's business, so this should be inquisitive. If you're very inquisitive about other people's life, now that's a polite way to put it. Actually, it means nosy. Yeah, if you're very inquisitive about other people's secrets, other people's day-to-day life, then yeah, normally that would be a more formal word down there. Okay. Number 5, okay, very good. Give me the answer. Okay, number 5 is D. Okay, very good. Careless about. Bingo. Yes. Okay. Right. Okay. So D is 5. 5 is D. So uninterested in. So 6, skinny. Of course, that should be K. Okay. Thin. Skinny and thin, same thing. But then thin will be more formal. Okay. Okay. 7 would be G. Okay. A kick would be similar, like a thrill. Like all of a sudden you know something, you understand something, you can call that as a kick in your mind, or you experience a thrill. Yeah, sometimes out of nowhere, but then you understand something, or you get some kind of yeah, uh, how to say, inspiration. Yeah, can be. Okay, next one, number 8, that should be J. Yeah, J would be a hit similar to a success. Yes, number 9 would be H. So a flop means a failure. Right, juicy. Okay, like a juicy story. 10 would be L, that means fascinating. 11 guys, of course, will be men. Okay, 12 up on, that should be I think informed about. Yes. So these are, one column is formal, the other one informal. All you have to do, pay a little bit more attention to the dictionary you use, or even check the thesaurus a little bit further down. Okay, just in case you want to avoid this kind of vocabulary requirement. Okay, fairly easy and straightforward, so we can move on to the next page. Again, same book. This time we look into how do we differentiate multiple meanings of a word. How do we differentiate, again, with the help of your dictionary. Yes, English words the same. I think Chinese words the same. Sometimes the word have multiple meanings, okay, have more than one. Then how do we look into them? Of course, it all depends on one thing we call context. Context means the environment or any other words or the situation from which a word is being used. Okay, and by knowing the context more properly, then you know how to control the right meaning of a word and therefore to choose a good one that you can use later on. Like the word gray, so I think when you look into this one, you think of your CGPA, right? It's true. Okay, so the first dictionary definition would be a number of letters that shows how well you have done in school. So that would be your CGPA, your academic performance, but then it can also mean when you experience a gray on the road, that means there will be a slope or degree of slope. So when you walk over, you have to be careful, especially if you're bicycling around that area. So that's a little slope or degree of slope, okay, throughout a certain row or certain pathway together. Okay, now again, please, if you need help, goes back to dictionary.com where you can use this one, or you know any other online dictionary you feel more comfortable, then please go ahead. Okay, I think this time you need a dictionary, more than a thesaurus. Thesaurus only point you to other vocabularies, but the dictionary would keep drilling into the meaning of a word for you. Okay, especially how many meanings they have. Okay, the next exercise, I think there's yeah, please help me complete exercise 3. Fairly easy. Look into the different contexts. Now, again, these you can call contexts. Look into different contexts from which the same word is being used, and then later on you can determine which meaning do they actually refer to. Again, if you need help, look up a dictionary. So there are 4 parts of it, and then on the next page. And again, take exercise like that, maybe 5 something minutes, you can finish it. And as usual, you finish it, please type done. Then I know time for me to go through the answers with you, okay? Yes, I think very easy. So let's go through the answers together. So the word design, there are a couple meanings. Number one, C has been done for you. I think number two would be B, right? So did he show you the design for his new house? Of course, that would be the sketch or a photo or picture of something. Yes. Number three, the chair is designed to be used by children. Very straightforward, certain goal or purpose. So, yep, here goes the answer. Number two, focus. So there are a couple meanings. Number one, when you read your essay, focus on correcting the grammar last. Of course, that should be C, to center one's attention on. Number five, the camera focuses automatically. This would be A, to adjust to get a clear picture. Number six, the focus of today's lecture is business ethics. Of course, that will be an object of attention, B. So design and focus, these are what we comes up with. Okay, next one, source. Number seven, avoid using Wikipedia as a source for a research paper. So that the meaning would be a place where information is obtained, B. Eight, we hiked all the way up to the hiked all the way up the mountain to the source of the river. And then this one, I think, C, right? The start or beginning of a river. Number nine, a teenage child can be a source of much anxiety for a parent. That would be A, the beginning or origin. Last one, the word stress. My mother always stressed the importance of honesty. That should be B, right? To give strength to something or to emphasize. 11, the heavy boxes stressed the thin metal of the shelf and it broke. This time it should be C, to cause pressure. Okay, number 12, both students and instructors deal with a lot of stress during final weeks. This time it should be A, mental or physical strain or difficulty caused by pressure. Now, these are two different small exercises. Number one reminds you about the formality of the word, of the vocabulary. Number two reminds you of the importance of, like choosing or distinguishing carefully within the multiple meanings of a word. Okay, simple as that. Okay, so here goes with the a little bit vocabulary enhancement. If everything's all right, I think I need your attention going back to Moodle because there are so many things there. So if you have Moodle, please go over there to our page. Okay. Wait. Okay. If you see Moodle, you should be able to find. Yes, for this week, here. Yeah, I think today I need to use this particular PowerPoint. If you haven't got it, just download it. And I am going to need you to go through this particular short reading. If you haven't got it, please download it. And then later on, we will look into this one. But before we start doing all these things concerning questionnaire, which is a big topic. Now, let me explain to you first why all of a sudden we have to talk about questionnaire. Later on, when you see the guidelines from the group research essay, I think this time they require you to create a questionnaire, use them, and then put it inside your research paper. So that's why it's more like a must for all of you. Yes. But don't worry, I'll just part by part, I'll guide you through here. And next lesson this week, I think the second lesson this week, we will be looking into this one. So how we do interviews, sometimes how do we integrate primary data into writing, on and on, which will be highly related to your upcoming group research project in this course. Okay, so I need this one. If you haven't got it, please download it, and I also need this one. And later on, we will also look into this one too. Okay, but before we start doing any of these things, that's a little video I'd like you to watch, which give you a very comprehensive overview concerning the structure, some of the major details or even difficulties or problems like any researcher like yourself, may encounter in making a questionnaire Okay, that may work. That may help you to gather data together. So if you have if you are able to gain access to YouTube, please go through the link. If okay, I can send you here again. Okay, that should be a very brief 12 minutes video. So please watch it now. If you have if you are able to gain access to YouTube, those who may not able to gain access to YouTube, then I think as usual, I try my best to turn on the caption for you, the subtitles for you, and then then let's watch it now. So please watch the video together, and then after 12 minutes, I'll start lecturing. Thank you.
To have both a representative sample and a sample size appropriate for the statistical processes you're using. Questionnaires can be administered in a variety of ways. Questionnaires can be self-administered. That is, participants fill in the questionnaire by themselves without influence or involvement by the researcher. A traditional method is to mail your questionnaire to your participant. This can become expensive with large samples. Mail. Participants fill out the questionnaire, save it, then return it to you via email. A more sophisticated way would be for you to send your participants a link to an online questionnaire. And then your participants fill in the questionnaire using their web browser. There are a growing number of companies providing this service. SurveyMonkey is popular. The University of Southampton provides a similar product called iSurvey. Some questionnaires are administered in an interview type situation. Telephone interviews are very common. However, they often have a poor reputation due to overuse by market researchers and telephone sales. Telephone interviews involve the researcher reading out the questions and a limited number of responses to the participant. It's important for the researcher to stick to his or her script so that the format and delivery for each participant remains consistent. Face-to-face interviews are very similar. You may have been approached by someone in the high street to answer a questionnaire. They too are used extensively by market researchers and sales. Okay, let's move on to the design of the questionnaire. The first stage of designing a questionnaire is to identify the type of information you wish to collect. Remember, different disciplines will have different focuses. A questionnaire on the use of iPads from a psychological perspective will be quite different from one coming from a sociological perspective. Even
So guess you have all finished watching the video too. So yeah, it gives us a very nice overview as to what the questionnaire is like and the purpose, and then what do we have to do on, so and so together. Okay, another one good way to begin with. Okay, please download this reading from Moodle, and it's called some advantages and disadvantages here. So if you look into that, I think all I need you to read will be just these two parts, this one and this one. So I guess they're very, very short. Okay, if you want to, I think it would be good. Okay, we know some advantages and some disadvantages and then some disadvantages concerning questionnaire. So maybe let's spend a few more minutes here, maybe 5 minutes. I'm sure you can finish it. You can finish reading it quickly. So yes, please, ladies and gentlemen, download this from Moodle, which is there already, and then please read it now. Thank you. Okay, then some of you have texted me and said you're done, then let's look into that. Now, again, together with the video, this short reading give you a better overview of questionnaire, whether it's a tool for research or as something you have to do later on for your project. Now, let's look at the good things first. Okay, advantages. So what are the advantages? Of course, many responses, you know that, I know that, they could be highly standardized, so that easier for us to quantify and qualify. And we believe, okay, the answers coming then will be far much more objective, well, we hope. Okay, that's one good thing about questionnaire. Second one, okay, is fast and quick and easy. Nowadays with Google Form very easily, maybe after a few hours, very easily you could get some feedbacks from the people around you. And of course, the last good thing would be you can get a large portion of a group. That depends on, of course, of the sampling size. That depends on the research level. Okay, you want to dig into for your project or even for your topic. So these three will be the standard good things, okay, concerning questionnaire. Okay, it seems like bad things a lot more. So there are, of course, some bad things, disadvantages about questionnaire. Number one, okay, like, yeah, likely they make us forget important issues in a way because, like, they have to break the issue down to smaller pieces and then we keep answering them and then normally we forget the big picture. That's one of the setbacks with questionnaire. So, in other way, okay, likely people may misinterpret. Misinterpret, that means they misunderstand, okay, the questions, but that will be likely happen in some not very well designed questionnaire. Later on, we can take a look. Okay. And then some questions which are open-ended questions. So open-ended questions, what happened will be they may generate large amount of data and then it takes a very long time to process and analyze. Open-ended means you don't give people A, B, C, D, you don't give them true, untrue, true or false, you don't give them right or wrong to choose. So you just leave blank and then they could come up with different answers they want. That's another thing. Another situation, I think you and I also know we may answer them superficially. That means we just give them a quick answers, we finish it, and then we move on. Okay, so yeah, that's another problem. And last but not least, okay, some not only students, many people may not be willing to answer the questions at all. Yeah, just like you send the link out to people, I think some of them they don't even want to. There's no guarantee you will get some feedbacks back. Okay, so these are the major setbacks and some of the major advantages, okay, of questionnaires, okay, that are being used for research in a way. So together with the video, we know the details and then we know the big picture about the good side and then the downside of using questionnaire for research. Okay, now we can move back to the PowerPoint, I think. Okay. Yes, you should have this one. If you haven't downloaded it, please go to Moodle and then it's right there, sitting there waiting for you. So today I think I will go through the PowerPoint with you, and then there are some details concerning writing, and then later on we can have some samples, okay, too, regarding not so good questionnaire questions. Oops, sorry. Okay, a couple of things. Number one, we have to always bear in mind when you have a questionnaire, what do we have actually in mind? That would be the purpose. The purpose is everything. What kind of purposes normally we have? Number one, okay, we want to know other people's beliefs and attitudes. Yes, beliefs and attitudes with regard to certain actions, service, products, even issues, okay, would be very, very important. Normally, that's the reason why we start making a questionnaire and then sending them out to people. Like this one, do you support the college proposal to administer stress test to all year one students? Okay, can be yes, can be no. Okay, if there are more yes, then people tend to be more supportive. If there are more no, then people tend to be less supportive. I think very easy. And by doing so, then we can know the respondents' beliefs and attitudes about this particular thing, whether we should administer stress tests, okay, to our students. So that's purpose number one. Purpose number two will be here. Of course, we also want to know about their behaviors and experience. What actions have they taken? So number two, they are more action oriented, like this one. They usually give them a very specific actions, okay, being highlighted, and then you want your respondent to give feedbacks whether or not they have taken the action or they have not taken the action. So once again, this is more action based. Like here, have you ever called a college counseling hotline when you feel stressed? If you look into other marketing research, a very typical marketing questionnaire, they may ask you, have you ever tried I don't know, the banking service of certain banks, or have you tried certain products like in your life, on and on together. So this is more action based, action oriented. So that goes to our second purpose. The third purpose likely would be our understanding. Sometimes not just understanding, sometimes you could also see how people misunderstand something. That would also make your questionnaire be highly valuable in a way. Just like here, frequent urination is a symptom of stress. Okay, urination means like you go pee pee. Yes, frequent, that means you go pee pee a lot. Yeah, so frequent urination is a symptom of stress. I think it should be true, right? Okay, so true and false, and then that somehow you could test people's mind or their about their understanding regarding urination and stress. So that's a certain correlation you want to share it with people. Now, normally we have two types of questions in all kinds of questionnaire. How long, how short the questionnaire doesn't matter. But usually we group these questions into two types. Type number one, we call them open-ended. Type number two, we call them closed-ended questions. Open-ended, that means you don't give people anything to choose, so they could open up to different answers. Good things will be, okay, you don't have a choice, so therefore respondents can answer their answers freely. But then the downside, of course, would be if you are the researcher, very difficult for you to quantify and qualify. Okay, the feedback. Just like here, what is your opinion on the college proposal to administer stress test to all year one students? Now, so many variations. Okay, I may not agree like only giving to year one students. Why not year two also? Okay, so another proposal, if I'm the respondent, a very troublesome one, then I can think of why administer stress test? Why not give them counseling service? Okay, directly. So instead of they don't have to go through tests, instead they can get the service all the way through. Now I'm just blah 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 here. So just blah blah blah. I have two different answers already. So if we carry on and give people so many open-ended questions, likely the feedbacks will be a little bit more difficult for you to collect and therefore transfer them into data. And later on in your own question, in your own team questionnaire, I think there will be a mixture, well, required. There will be a mixture of open-ended question as well as closed-ended question. So yeah, so now this is open-ended question. Closed-ended question, very easy. Normally you give people a choice. That's why we call it closed-ended. That means you set a certain limit for them and you already give them so-called preset options. Just like here, same thing. Do you think stress test is important for year one students? Yes and no. Or do you agree or disagree with them? Okay, this we call it a scale. Yes, 1 to 5. More agree, strongly disagree, that we call a scale. And this question, we call it a scalar question. Yeah, this is a typical scalar question. Where does this word come from? Scale is the noun. Scalar is the adjective. So vocabulary building again. Scalar question, you can call it. Yeah, that means a question filled with scale. That means that's it. Okay, so imagine, I think I just need some quick feedback responses so you can think a little bit further on. If you're a respondent, okay, how do you feel? You have open-ended questions, closed-ended questions, but then you are a researcher. Okay, how do you feel about open-ended questions, closed-ended questions? Now, there we have good side advantages. We also have bad side. So here, just give me some brief feedbacks here would be okay, and then kindly type it on our texting column. Okay, it would be very nice. So I give you a few minutes. Think of some feelings or feedbacks, ideas, or opinions, anything you can think of that makes open-ended questions good, or in some ways that make open-ended questions bad, and some very short feedbacks that can make closed-ended questions good, or that also make closed-ended questions bad in a way. So please give me some quick feedbacks. Okay, on the texting column, I think 5 minutes will be done, right? Yeah, just type it up and then put it on the texting page here together so that we can share and then we can discuss further on. Thank you. Okay, your friend came up with very interesting ideas. How about the rest of you? Please give me a few more. Okay, so many answers could come out, I'm sure. But open-ended questions, I think the good side, yes, you can have more freedom, as your friend suggests. And then the downside, of course, that will be very difficult for a for a researcher to really to find it out. And sometimes somehow it could gets up to too many possibilities, and that may also affect the research outcome. Close-ended advantages, of course, very easy to to count, to quantify. But then disadvantages, you limit the options and then you limit the freedom, okay, from the respondent. I think roughly this is what we generally we understand. I guess many of you also have this kind of experience or have this kind of thing in mind. Okay, that being said, okay, we could look into, still we need close-ended questions from time to time, and here we only look into 4 of them. Okay, these 4 I think should be enough, okay, for your project by now, and should be fairly enough, okay, for you to complete like a questionnaire later on for your own project. Okay. Normally, when we give people choices, okay, like normally we try to cover all possible answers. Well, we do have an agenda in mind whenever you set a questionnaire, but then how possible it would be, okay, normally we have to stretch our mind a little bit over. We try, again, that point number 2, we try to make not overlap each other, make sure the choices are not overlapping with each other. And most important will be here. I think every year this take most of your time to prepare one. Now, the specific instructions. Instructions can mean so many things, not just teaching people how to answer them, but then sometimes you have key terms, you have maybe technical terms that you also need to explain to people. Then a specific instructions will be fairly important in order to make people understand what exactly are the questions you want to ask them. So multiple choice questions like this one, I think, yeah, you have specific instructions from here. Sometimes you let people choose more than one answer. Sometimes you limit their choices to 2 to 3. Now, all up to you. So what are the possible symptoms of stress? 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Okay, you can ask people to specify. Okay, sometimes your hands are shaking. Maybe you are, yeah, some other symptoms. Okay, that may possibly pops up together. So a typical multiple choice question look exactly like this. And on top, we have so-called the rating questions. Okay, now again, we need the instructions right here. You don't just put the box here and then you goes away. And normally what do? You want people to rate the statements. Here, all these things, we call them statements. So here we see statements, or sometimes we also call them criteria. Because by what standard you want people to evaluate. Okay, so that would be something very important you want to collect from your respondent. Now, up to you. Sometimes you can call them statements, and then you ask people to evaluate them. And then sometimes we can call them criteria, and then you ask people to list their level of relevance too. Like here, number one, A, stress adversely means negatively, affects my academic performance. Okay, strongly disagree, strongly agree. My parents have high expectations of me, so and so. I have trouble making new friends at college. Okay, and then a scale, and then my health get worse when the assignment deadlines approach. Okay, that will be some of the situations. Hope this is not your case today. So this will be some of the feedbacks, okay, you may want to generate from people. Okay, next one, ranking question. Rating, ranking, very similar. But normally this one will be, we plan to emphasize, okay, the level of importance whenever you give people a ranking question, just like number 1 being the most important factor, number 4 being the least important factor, so and so. Like here, achieving high GPAs, expanding your social circle, identifying career goals, or joining study abroad programs. Now, these are a list, okay, they should have a certain idea in mind, and of course the instructions have to be very, very clear. Okay, this one again. Yeah, that's what we mean by clear instructions. Okay, next one, we have filter questions. What's filter questions for? Number 1, to save people time. Okay, and sometimes you want to more like to sort of like cut them off in a certain subgroup. So you want to separate these people, okay, from one big group to another. So just like here, okay, have you ever called a college counseling hotline when you feel stressful? If yes, then you carry on, do some other things. If no, likely you have other sets of questions that you want them to answer, so they don't have to linger on. That means they don't have to stay on the same page and then keep answering questions that may not be totally relevant to their situation. So what good things about filter questions will be, okay, so yes, you really like sort of direct the people, okay, based on their chosen answers. That's number 1. So number 2 would be you can help tailor questions for a subgroup of respondents. Yes, most important, of course, at the end would be you help save time, because you help them. What exactly do they filter? They filter away irrelevant questions. Okay, that based very much upon the feedbacks, okay, of your respondent together. Okay, another kind of filter questions will be here. So sometimes you have follow-up questions too. Okay, which is also a kind of filter question, just like here. So if you answer yes, then you go on to certain questions. If the person answers no, then he or she goes to another set of questions. Okay, so you clearly teach them where to skip. Okay, and then which item they have to answer. Okay, so yes, but try not to use that too often, because likely that will confuse people too. Usually 1 to 2 filter questions in your scale, I mean, like that should be fairly enough, okay, together. Now, there are some principles of so-called question writing, and altogether here we prepare 5 of them for you. Number 1 would be like, make sure like they're able to answer. Number 2, normally we want to ask one thing at a time. Number 3, we write in a simple, direct manner. Okay, number 4, we want to make sure people really understand. And number 5, which is most important, we tend to be as neutral and we tend to be objective in terms of wordings. Yes, so we can take a look. Okay, there are a couple criteria, okay, normally you don't want people to do when answering questionnaire. Number one, you don't want them to do will be recall distant memories, because if things happen long time ago, who's going to remember them? Okay, I think you cannot, I cannot. So that makes the questionnaire not very useful. Okay, so you don't ask them anything they have not heard about or not experienced before. Yeah. So yes, we do have a sample group you have in mind. Say, for instance, as you want to ask them anything about Hong Kong, then of course we expect them to be, well, at least familiar with Hong Kong, not just some of your exchange student friends that they came to Hong Kong for maybe 2 weeks and then they went back home, and then now you ask them about anything happening in Hong Kong now. So likely they may not be able to answer. So yes, we do have a target audience in mind, or we do have a target respondent in mind, most of the case. Okay, or we try to avoid questions that have no relevance to them, or we try to avoid complicated procedures or difficult calculation. Yes, normally you see the last one, you look into that, normally we run away. Okay, I'm sure many of you have been stopped by people on the street, somehow, somewhere, maybe by NGO, maybe by companies asking you to fill in a questionnaire, and then later on they give you a gift, or they give you, I don't know, a coupon, or freebie, or some other things. Right. Number two, normally we ask one thing at a time. Okay, sometimes your questions contain 2 to 3 parts. Now, it will have make the respondent very difficult to answer them. And don't forget close-ended questions. Normally they allow only one single answer. So if your close-ended questions, you ask a couple of things, then the answer won't be too valid. Yeah, okay, just like here. So it may not be valid, and therefore it's very difficult for you to interpret too. So this is the reason why we have to ask one thing at a time. Okay, principle number 3. Okay, we have to write in a simple and direct manner. So clear, concise writing style is what we need. Okay, so and number 2 thing, we want to avoid long questions, because that may easily make people confused, or even worst case scenario, they misinterpret them. Okay, and normally we want to keep the questions in 1 line or 2 lines in length. Yes, and also maximize the use of negative words, and never include double negative. What are double negatives? Okay, I can give you one. Say, I hope you are not feeling unwell today. I am not, now one negative. Well, I hope you are not feeling unwell. So not and unwell, that will be a double negative. Of course, it ends up meaning like, I hope you are feeling well today, right? I think that's the meaning I want to give you. But that's why, unless out of the matter of language, unless you want to achieve some different meaning, maybe I tend to be, I don't know, negative, maybe I tend to be a little bit ironic, sarcastic, then possibly we can use double negative when you're talking to people. But now that's a questionnaire, so that's why we try to take away negative words, and especially double negatives, okay, in your question, because it takes longer for people to understand. Right. Okay, number 4, make sure everyone understands in the same way. That means like, yeah, make sure they understand your intended meaning. Of course, that will depend very much on the introduction of your questionnaire. So because that gives them a clear idea as to what data you want to collect. And normally, yes, we try to avoid rare words, technical terms, and even abbreviations. But still, if you really need to use them, then you need to provide definitions or short explanation. So that's why, back to square one, I think the instructions in questionnaire are the most important part, to be honest. And try to avoid using so-called frequency adverbs like always, often, sometimes. Problem will be always to you can be once every day, or always to me can be once every week. So what are we talking about? Often will be the same, sometimes it could be the same, because each and every one of us, we have very different understanding, and we have very different answers, okay, popping up together. So that being said, okay, we could go to principle 5. What do you mean by neutral and objective? Yes, later on I can show you some more examples, but then normally neutral and objective, that means try to take away our bias, okay, in giving out questionnaires to people. And normally, like, we try not to hint to people, okay, what option they should choose, or else you limit the answers, okay, or avoid word choice that shows your attitude. Okay, what exactly do you mean by avoid word choice that shows your attitude? I think if you go back to Moodle, now look at this part together, reference, avoiding bias questions. Okay, here we can take a look. If you click on the link, Now, here I found an interesting web article concerning 7 examples of bad survey questions. Okay, so we could take a look here now. Okay, so what is the leading question? Now type number 1 is something we call the details. You can read later if you're interested to know more, but then I just jump directly to the examples with you. So what are leading questions like here? How great is our hardworking customer service team? Now, these are totally biased. You assume the answer has to be positive and you already think your own customer service team is very good. Okay, so this is one thing. So they also offer you interesting solution. How would you describe your experience with the customer service team? Now, this one far much more neutral. This is clearly biased, if you notice, and this one clearly, well, somehow neutralize it together. Right. Second one will be the same again, leading question. Leading question means you lead people into the answers you want. You already asked how awesome is the product. That means how great, how good it is. So again, this is bias. Okay, next one, what problems do you have with the design team? So likely you don't like the design team very much, I guess, if someone sent out a questionnaire like this, because without even asking them anything, you already think, okay, the design team itself already create problems now, which is also a very bad leading question. And that gives very, very bad impression on the design team here together. Okay, so these are typical leading questions. Okay, we could look into another kind of what they call loaded assumptive questions. Okay, what are loaded assumptive questions? We could go down here. Where do you enjoy drinking beer? Now, same cases. You assume you assume the customer must be drinking beer. Okay, so these are loaded questions already. How about if I don't drink at all? I don't drink beer, maybe I drink wine, maybe I don't drink wine, I drink only whiskey. Maybe I don't drink whiskey, I only drink, how to say, cocktails. Now, that makes the question very difficult to answer, and the result won't be too good because if, as a respondent, I don't know what to do. Okay. Again, next one, loaded question. How often do you exercise twice a day? Then are you asking me question or not? Number one, you use the word often, and then you tell me already you hinted that it has to be twice a day. Okay, if twice a day, then actually I don't, how, at least change the word into always, right? That means I'm a very serious, okay, person who likes to exercise a lot. Now, these are typical loaded questions. So in the very near future, when you have to create your own, please avoid them. Okay, we still have another type we call double-barreled questions. Okay, what makes it double barrel? Now we can take a look at the sample question. Was the product easy to find and did you buy it? Now you see 2 questions here. You have one question asking the person, okay, it's easy to find, and second, did you buy it? Now this we call double barreled. Okay, you make it double barrel. So the solution, if you notice here, break it down into 2 parts and try to take away the loaded question. Now this is loaded again. Was the product easy to find? You assume the product was easy to find already, and I can't say no. So this is not a very good question in the questionnaire. Okay, because you have limited my answers already. Again, another double barrel questions. How would you rate the training and onboarding process? Now you asking me 2 things. That's why in one question you don't ask people more than one thing because it's very difficult to answer. And the solution, if you look into what this website suggests, okay, they break it down into 2 different parts. Okay, now this is typical what we call a double barrel question, or typically why we ask people not to ask 2 things one time. Okay, now the use of jargon. Again, what are jargon? These are all slangs, phrases that if you don't belong to that particular culture or to that particular community, very likely we may not understand at all. Okay, just like here, the product helped me meet my OKRs. What is it? Okay, OKR. I think as a respondent, I have to check it up again. But you know that questionnaire, you want me to check up things to answer your question. Normally I run away. Yeah, right. I think that's what we do. Now, this is a jargon. Okay, second one, how was FaceTime with your customer support rep? Okay, so Customer support representative, right? I guess REP now, abbreviation. So these are typical jargons that we want to avoid because that creates more question than the question itself. Okay. Now I just learned OKR means objective and key results. Okay, very nice. Now I just learned it. Okay, objectives and key results. Now, double negatives. Earlier I just mentioned to you. Okay, let's see what a question with double negative looks like. Now, was the facility not unclean? Double negative. Just like earlier asking you, I'm hoping that you are not feeling unwell. Now, double negative. So do you mean I'm clean? But in order to make the question more neutral, okay, in order to make the question more neutral, normally here you could clearly see people turn them into how would you rate the cleanliness of the facility? Okay, cleanliness. Instead of like forcing people to say the facility was clean, now you want the people to rate the cleanliness of the facility. That's one thing. Now, double negative again, I don't scarily buy items online. Don't scarily. Okay, that means regularly or always, or what exactly you want to tell people. Okay, that's another thing for double negative because that makes the question even more difficult to answer or more difficult to understand. Again, the website isn't easy to use unless I use the search bar. So is that easy or not now? Double negative. Isn't is a negative unless it's another negative, which on and on. You have to notice that, okay, this is something like we have to avoid in making a questionnaire together. Okay, number 6, another situation where we can take a look to. Poor answer scale options. So what do they look like? Let's take a look. How often do you check your email in a day? Okay, so you have overlapping answer options. Okay, A 0 to 1 time, B 1 to 2 times, C 2 to 3 times. Okay, D more than 3 times. So if I check 1 time, should I choose A or should I choose B? Okay, so now this is very confusing. If I use 3 times, then should I choose C or should I choose D? Okay, so on and on together. So these are some of the so-called overlapping answer options which are given to you here. Next one, we can take a look. What device do you usually use to check your email? Okay, again, computer, mobile phone, tablet, the iPad. I think somehow, somewhere it would be quite interesting, especially C and D. Okay, tablet, iPad, same thing. iPad is a typical product, but then it functions like a tablet. So, yeah. And sometimes you can argue tablet can be very similar to a computer. Okay, so the answer options are also very, very important because otherwise I don't know what to choose, especially this one. Yes. Okay, last but not least, okay, unbalanced scale. Okay, now that would be very strange. So how was our service today? Okay, good, fantastic, unforgettable, mind-blowing. Oh my God. Too, how to say, too subjective, the answer. Okay, to you, okay means this thing. Okay, to me, okay can mean another thing. To you, good can mean here. To some of you, good can mean some other things too. Now, mind-blowing too, wow. Too strong, too subjective, the options here. Okay, next one. How satisfied were you with our service today? So very satisfied, dissatisfied, neutral, satisfied, very satisfied. Okay, a little bit more balance here and at least far much more neutral. Okay, in a certain way. So these are some of the things that you have to consider while making it. You can check out the page too later on. I put the link on Moodle already. Okay, one more situation, confusing answer scale formatting. Okay, what do they look like? I think they look like here. Okay, it goes even like on certain cases, like, okay, so sometimes if you one day you choose to use apps or some other things to do that together, okay, that will be something like you have to consider because normally, like, how do we fix the scale also highly affect how people answer them together. Okay, just like here. Okay, so how likely are you to recommend ham and stitch to your friend? Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then here 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 5, all the way down to 10. So I think very likely some of them, if we are lazy, we will just put 0 and then we go away. Okay, because the way you arrange them really affects the way we choose the answer. So this is another consideration for you to look into all these things together. All right. So I think I find this link very interesting. So I just put it down here for you. So and from now here, so you understand better, okay, what it means by avoid word choice that shows your attitude, okay, or be neutral and objective, okay, or what it means by please do not hint to respondents which option they should choose. So all the examples comes from here. Okay, so you can take a further look later on. Okay, so the link, once again, I put it on Moodle already, so you can come back anytime you want. If everything's all right, then I can just move on. Now, somehow the organization, especially the title introduction, very important, and later on you have to do that too. Yes, every questionnaire there should be a title and there should be an introduction down there. So what should the title look like? You should put down some keywords of your questionnaire, especially what you want to look for. And and in the introduction, what do we do? Normally, we persuade respondents to join the survey and some instruction to teach them how to complete it. Okay, so what should be included in a good introduction? Number one, you tell people the reasons why you are doing this survey. And if you have very important terms and keywords, then normally we have to define them. Like number three, normally we tell people this can be done very shortly. Yes, otherwise people run away. Number four, ensure confidentiality. That means the answers will not leak out. And in many cases, we tend to make our respondents anonymous. Anonymous means their names, their personal details will not be disclosed. And last but not least, okay, you have to give them very clear instructions to avoid, well, to make sure like they answer the questions properly. Okay, normally think of how we group questions effectively. Next lesson, I'll give you some more bad examples so that we can discuss a little bit more. But today, just usually we group related questions together. And normally we label each section with headings and descriptions. And yes, we tend to put easy questions first. And then normally we keep, well, if you want to collect them, we keep demographic questions at last. Demographic questions, you know this word very well. Okay, anything concerning people's age, sex, income group, professions, I don't know, any particular details that you think, okay, that may be helpful, okay, for you to understand the data you collect, that you're going to collect. And normally we set these questions right at the end. We don't do that right at the beginning. Okay, so these are the standard procedures in making a questionnaire together. Okay, design and layout. I think later on there will be some more examples for you, but then here at this moment, please normally we label section and questions with numbers. Yes, because that's easier. And of course, we leave adequate space. And yes, normally we list the answers options vertically. Easy to read. Just like all the MCQ we have done in HKCC, you notice we all list them vertically. Yeah, because otherwise very difficult to read. And normally what do we do? Point number four, okay, we choose appropriate font type and color. Okay, this we can come back later on, but normally we try to make a font type not so colorful, not so flowery, because if you do that, it will make the questionnaire very difficult to read together in one go. Okay, and of course, later on as a team, when you finish doing that, one important thing will be please make sure you pilot test the questionnaire. Pilot test, that means you send it to your friends, ask them for their feedbacks, make sure they all understand them or on and on together. So this we call a pilot test before you actually send it out and then start collecting important data from people around you. All right, so these are some of the basics from which designing questionnaire may need to know. So I think this is partly all I would like to share with you today. And again, later on, I think next lesson we'll move on to further details as well as into interviewing questions, okay, on and on together. And friendly reminder, by now, please notice that very soon you have to create a questionnaire because it is required in your research, in your group research essay. That's number one. And yes, likely we expect you to send it out and really collect some data back so that later on we can, and then later on we can, and then all these data you can use it, and then you can use it. You can also put it back as primary data for backing up your argument in your group research essay together. Yeah. So normally this is what you have to do. Okay, for designing a questionnaire. Yes, even though the guidelines, I'm still waiting for the research essay, but I guess it will come up very soon. And once I get it, I'll just share it with you, and then I'll brief you over. Okay, as soon as possible. Okay, I think roughly this is what I want to share with you today. So once again, friendly reminder, if you haven't submitted your case study analysis, please do so before midnight today. Yeah, as long as the system sees your record there, I think it shall be fine. And then next lesson, please get back the Turnitin copy, the originality report, and together with your reference list, and then you upload it and then you submit it again. Then that will complete all your submission. Okay, so yeah, I can stop here now. Any questions, you know where to find me. You can text me, you can email me anywhere you want. So I think normally should be okay. All right. So as usual, stay tuned. Take very good care of yourself. So I will log off now. Yeah. Anything you want to let me know, just simply text me and let me know what is going on. And yes, one more thing, since you are all here, still, any one of you, you already foresee you have difficulty in grouping. If you already have some, no worry. I think we still have time. Okay, we still have time before I collect your group list. But later on, maybe you start grouping, and some of you rethink like, okay, you really know have no friends around, you don't know what to do, then please text me or up to you or email me privately so that I can later on put you all together. Okay. So hope you don't mind if you cannot really join any groups, then I think, well, to help you complete the assignment, then I have to kick in. Okay. Then I have to put my hands on and then I will have to help you to put you randomly into different teams. So once again, 3 to 4 people in the group, that should be enough. Okay, so like I said, if any one of you foresee any difficulty already, please let me know, and then I see what I can do. Okay, a solo cannot because too long. Yeah, the project pretty long, so very difficult for you. Even if you take the lower number, say 3 people, it will be over 1,000 something words. So please can't be solo. This one you need a team. Yeah, you need well, group with me, of course. Well, we've grouped already. Yeah, so you don't have to group again. Yeah, just try to get a friend, right? Some of you know each other, I guess. They said anyone doesn't have a group. Yeah, it would be good. Now you guys can keep on discussing here. Yeah, you can use this text function and keep talking to one another. Wow, phone number. Now see, young people very easy. So yeah, you can make good use of this Microsoft Team texting platform. Then you can keep chatting with one another. And then I'm sure you can find your team here. Okay. Now then, please continue to do that. Okay, I'll still be here. Okay, checking out the messages around you. But yeah, I think this is all I want to share with you so that I can look out for now. And anything you want to let me know, keep texting me here. I'm always next to my phone. Okay, so thank you very much for joining me today. Again, stay tuned and take very good care of yourself. Still, I think it is hopeful that very soon we can meet in the classroom. Okay, thank you.